According to a UN estimate, 41.3% of Earth's total geographical area is made up of drylands, including significant desert areas. What if a huge percentage of this area can be turned into fertile ground suitable for growing crops? With a million square miles of total land area, only 12% of it is arable. China is one country where this is a particularly important concern. Over the last 30 years, a secret war against nature has been waged in China's far west, in the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, to transform vast areas of desert into forest oases. Although the concept of converting deserts into forests appears promising, how practical is it? Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. In order to return the arid deserts and marshes near China's borders into agriculture and protect the capital Beijing from sandstorms coming from the Gobi Desert, a 500,000 square mile region that stretches from northwest China to Mongolia, tree planting has been at the center of China's environmental efforts for decades. The Gobi Desert would cover Tiananmen Square in dust virtually every spring. The Gobi Desert has been engulfing 3,600 square kilometers of grassland in China per year. Dust storms can remove up to 2,000 square kilometers of topsoil each year, and they are getting stronger every year. Additionally, these storms have negative effects on agriculture. The storm sand has totally obscured the adjacent roads. The 3 North Shelter Forest Program, also known as the Great Green Wall, is a network of windbreaks or shelter belts that humans have planted in China to slow the Gobi Desert's spread. The project began in 1978 and is expected to be finished in 2050 with a total length of 4,500 kilometers or 2,800 miles. This project will increase China's forest cover from 5 to 15%. The Grain of Green program, launched by the Chinese government in 1999, aims to rehabilitate damaged farmland in important agricultural areas of the northern Loess Plateau, which is about the size of France. Beijing experienced strong sandstorms in March for the first time in 6 years, raising questions about the nation's reforestation efforts as land becomes more limited and trees are no longer able to cope with the climate change. Over the past 40 years, China has planted countless billions of trees in an effort to combat the growth of deserts, mostly in the northern regions. The nation plants seedlings over an area that's almost the size of Ireland every year. As part of its expansive Belt and Road trade strategy, it is even imparting its desert management techniques to others. Desertification in China has been stopped by trees. However, other scientists are concerned that the planting would make the water shortage worse. Even though they have been planted in locations that are getting less rain owing to global warming, many of the trees are not indigenous to the areas where they have been put and they need a lot of water. The government claims that since the program's inception in 1978, it has planted more than 66 billion trees in 13 provinces throughout the nation's north. According to the government, deserts began to spread across the nation around the year 2000, adding 10,400 square kilometers each year. China's deserts are, however, reportedly getting smaller by more than 2,400 square kilometers every year, according to a report from the State Forestry Administration in 2017. According to government statistics, there has been an increase in forest cover, according to a 2018 study that examined satellite data from the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. However, the study found that changes in logging policy were more significant than afforestation, or the planting of forests where none had previously existed. According to government statistics, ordinary residents have planted over 56 billion trees across China during the past 10 years. China planted forest on 5.88 million hectares in just 2009 alone. According to former U.S. Vice President and Nobel Prize winner Al Gore, China plants 2.5 times as many trees annually as the United States. China became the world's largest carbon emitter in 2007, surpassing the United States, and emissions are predicted to rise along with China's GDP. Although China has made significant investments in clean technology and promised to shut down thousands of highly polluting companies, it has also come under fire from other nations for moving too slowly and refusing to abide by international standards. Notably, the trees assist to slow the movement of China's fast-moving deserts to the west and north. In a 2006 report to the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, China claimed that deserts occupied 2.63 million square kilometers, or 27% of its area, up from 18% in 1994. Since the early 1980s, China's grasslands have declined by 15,000 square kilometers per year. Furthermore, China's forestry scientists claim that the young forests absorb more carbon dioxide than slow-growth forests. They contend that fast-growing poplar and white birch trees capture up to twice as much carbon than Korean pine, larch, and fir trees. The government is increasingly using the Great Green Wall to publicize its efforts to prevent climate change. While the government emphasizes the importance of the forests in addressing decades of environmental harm, some critics argue that the type of forests planted, as well as their location, limit their usefulness. They claim that the Great Green Wall has contributed to a considerable reduction in the quality of China's forests. According to some experts, few animals flourish in many of the freshly planted woodlands. According to some experts, the Great Green Wall has accelerated ecological degeneration in some areas by putting pressure on precious water resources in arid and semi-arid regions. Possibly the greatest projected ecological project in history, the Green Great Wall proposes the planting of more than 9 million acres of forest at a cost of up to $8 billion. The government has initiated a two-pronged strategy to create the wall: use aerial seeding to cover large expanses of land where the soil is less parched, and pay farmers to plant trees and bushes in regions that require more attention. A $1.2 billion oversight system will be created, consisting of mapping and land surveillance databases. The government has also established a dust monitoring network with Japan and Korea. The wall will be constructed with an outer belt varying in width from 775 to 1,765 feet wide and a sand fence around the perimeter. Low-lying, sand-tolerant plants will be placed in optimal checkboard patterns inside the dunes to create an artificial ecosystem that'll help to stabilize them. A 6-foot-wide gravel base will retain sand in place and foster the formation of a soil crust. The government has also supported research into the use of genetically modified plants, chemical dune stabilization, space-bred grass strains, and even farming techniques that'll allow the rice to flourish in sandy soil. China is actually ahead of expectations, increasing forest coverage in the 3 North Zone from 5% to 13.57% of the expected 15%, whereas Africa's wall has been ripped apart by inconsistencies. China has exploded its dictatorship to great purpose. Every year on March 12, Tree Planting Day, the government conducts a campaigning event with party members and model workers carrying shovels and planting trees, urging people to fulfill their legal duty to plant at least 3 saplings every year. According to the Chinese State Forestry Administration, the desert has been diminishing since 1999, and a report presented to the UN in 2019 claims that TNSP, or 3 North Shelter Forest, or Shelter Belt program, is essentially complete, with an expected completion date of 2030. While focusing solely on the enemy, the Gobi Desert, the Green Wall overlooks the creeping land degradation caused by overgrazing and deforestation, both of which originate within the Shelter Belt. Even if they're more strategically positioned, the new forests are not healthier. There is a significant disparity between naturally occurring old-growth forests and monoculture plantation forests, which account for more than 80% of the TNSP forests. The TNSP prefers plantation forests to more natural forests because, in addition to reversing desertification, the trees may be harvested for lumber on a regular basis before the region is replanted, giving economic benefits. The problem with these monoculture forests is that, while they develop faster, they don't generate balanced ecosystem, which means they're not self-sufficient and are more susceptible to diseases and pests. In Ningxia, northwest China, a single pest outbreak knocked out 1 billion planted poplar trees in 2000. The World Bank advised China to focus on quality rather than quantity, but the harm had already been done. After decades of deforestation, only 2% of China's forests are old growth. Large areas of the Shelter Belt have been chastised for failing to examine compatibility issues such as water consumption and soil conditions, resulting in sickly, weak trees that die soon after planting. According to a 2019 report in The Economist, only 15% of trees planted in the 3 North Zone since 1949 have survived. When the trees do live, if they are improperly picked in place, they end up harming rather than benefiting environmental circumstances. Several studies have revealed that afforestation reduces soil moisture by as much as 32 to 37%. The difficult part will be sustaining those successes until the completion date of 2050 and beyond. China's willingness to learn from past mistakes increases the likelihood of this happening. A massive number of trees have been destroyed due to experimentation and bad technique, although this number is likely to decrease in the future. The Great Green Wall is now fragile, but if China takes the next 2 decades to shore up the weak spots, it should be sound by 2050. What do you think about this project in China? Let's know in the comments and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.